Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into something pretty fundamental, the way our attention works, or maybe doesn't work sometimes. We spend so much energy fighting the obvious battles, right? But what if the things really holding us back are the ones we don't even see anymore?
Yeah, that's the core idea, isn't it? That real liberation, real change. It doesn't always start with some big, dramatic action. Often it's much quieter. It's like a tiny shift in how you perceive things. Something invisible, suddenly. Well, it clicks into focus. It becomes undeniable.
There's this great analogy that sets it up perfectly. Imagine you're walking a path you take every day, totally familiar, but tonight you trip, and you look down, and there's this tree root. It's always been there, but tonight is the first time you've really seen it.
Exactly. That route isn't a new obstacle. It was always part of the path, the background. Now suddenly it's a figure. It's popped out, and that's really the heart of this way of thinking about awareness. Reality isn't this fixed, objective thing out there. It's more like a dynamic field, a constantly shifting pattern of what's in focus, the figure, and what's just sort of there, the ground. What you see is what you've brought forward.
Wow. So we're constantly navigating based on stuff we've basically classified as wallpaper. Like, think about a room you live in, maybe it's a bit cluttered, you got that cracked mug, an old coat over a chair, that pile of books you mean to read. They aren't actively bothering you, they're just there, part of the scenery, the ground.
Right, but here's the crucial bit. Even though they're ground, they're not passive. Not at all. Those objects, or maybe they represent habits, old beliefs, things left unsaid, they're actually shaping how you move through that room. They subtly dictate where you step, what you avoid looking at, maybe even which parts of the room feel off limits. You have to see them for what they are.
Okay, but if they're so good at blending in, how do we even spot them? How does this background radiation actually show up?
Well, there's this really telling example. Think of someone, let's call her Marina. She has this awful dread every Sunday night. Intellectually, she blames work stress, the usual suspects, modern life pressure.
Sure, that makes sense.
But the real weight, the thing she's completely stopped noticing consciously, is an email, an unsent email to her father. It's been sitting in her drafts folder for like 5 years. She never deletes it, but she never opens it either.
5 years, wow.
Yeah, and it doesn't pop up as a clear memory or a sharp pang of guilt most of the time. It just exists. It creates this background hum, this atmosphere.
Background radiation. That's a chilling term. It implies the quiet stuff is actually doing the most work in a bad way.
That's exactly it, because that email is ground, it's ambient, unnoticed, part of the furniture of her mind. It controls her much more deeply than any problem she's actively wrestling with.
So the thing that's enslaving you is rarely the thing you're consciously fighting. It's the thing you've gotten used to.
Almost always. It's the stuff you stopped even registering. That's the secret of non-liberation, you could say.
Which loops back perfectly to that image of carrying something heavy, like an old backpack, maybe a strange one. You wear it every single day. You adjust your posture, how you walk, how you breathe, how you sit, all around this thing. Eventually, you don't even feel the straps digging in. You don't just carry the weight. You literally become the shape defined by that weight.
You become fluent in the language of your own prison, a prison you don't even perceive as walls anymore. These patterns, these structures that maybe don't serve you anymore, they don't announce themselves. They just become the way you see, the way you react.
You think you're reacting fresh,
Yeah.
but you're just echoing this old pattern.
Exactly. An old pattern so deeply embedded, it feels like instinct. It feels like you.
Okay, so if the problem is structural, something we need to see rather than just delete, then liberation starts differently too. It starts with that moment of interruption. When the background flickers and suddenly you see the email or the backpack or the belief as a distinct figure.
Yes. And this is where the whole approach kind of flips the script on typical self-help advice. It starts with contact, not attack.
But wait, when that figure emerges, that uncomfortable feeling, that old belief isn't the first instinct, just panic, like get rid of this, delete, throw it out.
Totally. That's the natural, almost desperate human reaction.
So if I finally see that heavy metaphorical backpack I've been carrying, should I just, chuck? That feels like productive action. Why is wanting to purge it the wrong move here?
It feels productive, absolutely. But that instinct treats the figure, the backpack, the email as an enemy, like a mistake that needs erasing. This perspective, though, it doesn't really believe in deletion in that way. It believes in completing the cycle, honoring the whole picture.
Honoring it.
Yes, here's the pivot. That thing that no longer serves you. It almost certainly once served you perfectly. It was essential. the energy tied up in it, maybe it's anger, fear, avoidance. That was a strategy, a necessary life-preserving strategy at one point in time.
Okay, help me with that. Let's say the figure is a belief like, I'm not good enough. It feels miserable now. How can I possibly honor that? That feels really counterintuitive.
Because that belief, as painful as it feels now, likely wasn't born from objective truth. It was probably constructed by your own sort of brilliant survival mind. It was a structure built to keep you safe when maybe vulnerability felt incredibly dangerous, like social or emotional death.
Oh.
That unsent email. It protected Marina from a conversation she felt utterly unready for. That backpack. Maybe it gave you a sense of structure when everything else felt chaotic and formless. The belief wasn't a reflection of reality. It was a strategy that worked for a time.
So liberation isn't rebellion against the thing. It's recognition of the thing. It's turning towards it, the backpack, the email, the belief, and acknowledging its original job.
Right.
It's saying, okay, I see you. You were my shield, or you carried me then, or you bought me time.
Precisely, and that's why just awareness, just that contact is transformative. The moment you can truly meet that figure fully, without an agenda to destroy it or fix it, without judgment, its unconscious grip starts to dissolve.
It doesn't just vanish.
No, not usually. It settles, it integrates, it moves from being this charged, demanding figure back into the ground. But now it's a ground you know. You've touched it, you've understood its function, you've completed its story in a way. It doesn't control you from the shadows anymore.
I think I get the difference now. It's like you're watching a really scary movie, totally gripped by the fear. Then maybe the theater lights flicker on for a second. The fear doesn't vanish because the monster on screen was destroyed, but because you suddenly remember you're the one watching. You see the context.
Beautifully put. You don't need to dig up the root and burn it. You just need to see it, acknowledge it. And that seeing changes your entire relationship to it, your posture around it.
Okay.
And this leads us beyond just letting go. It's more about allowing completion. You don't force things to release. You create the conditions for the whole system, your whole inner landscape, to naturally reconfigure itself.
Isn't there a principle about that, like the mind always seeking the most stable, simple shape?
Law of pregnancy.
Exactly, the law of pregnancy. The mind, the perceptual field, inherently seeks stability, coherence, completion. Unfinished business, unresolved figures, they keep the field charged, tense, unstable.
Because the mind wants resolution.
It demands it in a way. That's the physics of awareness. That's why that conversation you dodged 5 years ago might still echo. The field is incomplete. Completion is allowing that figure the attention it needs to finally resolve and settle. And this tends to happen through, well, you could call them 5 movements of consciousness, right? Not rigid steps, more like caves, natural phases. Let's walk through them. The first one, movement 1, noticing, the figure ground reversal.
Yeah, this is that initial flicker we talked about. The smooth surface of everyday awareness gets snagged on something. Maybe it's a physical sensation, that familiar tightness in your chest that seems to come from nowhere, or a recurring nagging feeling.
Something subtle, usually.
Often, yeah. This is the field itself speaking up, saying, hey, look here, something that was background is starting to emerge as a figure. The crucial part here is staying in that pre-insight phase, just allowing the tension, the feeling, the whatever it is, to be there without immediately needing to slap a label on it or, fix it.
Okay, just noticing.
Yeah.
And what? Movement 2,
Yeah.
contact, leaning into the edge.
This is where you turn towards it. You engage with it, but with raw presence. No agenda to change it or escape it. For Marina, maybe it means finally opening that drafts folder. Not to decide if she should send the email, but just to sit with it. To really feel the weight, the texture of that unsent message, that unspoken truth.
Contact with the feeling of it, not the story about it.
Exactly. Contact with its function, its structure, its energy, and what happens almost immediately when you do that.
Resistance.
Boom. Movement 3, resistance. The system pushes back. Homeostasis. The field instinctively tries to maintain its familiar structure, even if that structure is painful. Because, weirdly, familiar pain often feels safer to the organism than unknown freedom.
And we're usually told to push through resistance, fight it. But here,
the idea is to meet it. Not fight it, but get curious about it. What is this resistance really protecting you from? Often you realize the resistance isn't against, say, sending the email itself. It's against the unknown consequences, the vulnerability. What happens if I finally stand up straight without that familiar, albeit heavy, backpack?
meeting the resistance.
Okay.
What happens then?
If you can stay with that, meet the resistance with curiosity instead of force, you create the space for movement 4. Insight. The function reveals itself. And this isn't usually like an intellectual puzzle you solve. It's more of an organismic knowing, a felt sense shifts.
Like a sudden realization.
Kind of, but deeper than just a thought. You might suddenly feel in your body why you held on to that avoidance or that belief. You get its original protective purpose. Like, that's why I needed that belief I'm not enough. It stopped me from taking risks that felt terrifying back then. It was a safety contract.
You mentioned isomorphism here. Does that mean my body physically shifts when this insight lands? How does that actually feel?
Yes, isomorphism means the structure changes across the board, mind and body simultaneously. It's a literal reorganization. You might suddenly notice your shoulders drop because the weight of that metaphorical backpack has actually lifted. Your breath might deepen spontaneously. The body often registers the completion, the shift in function, even before your thinking mind catches up.
Wow, okay, so the insight lands, the body shifts, leading to movement 5. Dissolution, return to ground.
Right. The figure, having been seen, contacted, understood, and its function honored, it dissolves. Its energy is no longer bound up in tension. It doesn't disappear entirely, but it returns to the background. It integrates back into the ground of your experience.
But wait, the unsent email, for example, was ground before this ambient dread. And now, after these movements, it's ground again. How is this new ground different?
Great question. The first ground was unseen, charged, controlling you unconsciously. This new ground is known, it's been met, touched, understood. Its energy is neutral now. It's integrated history, maybe even wisdom, not active tension. It no longer drains your energy or dictates your mood from the shadows.
So the whole cycle is like ongoing perceptual hygiene, cleaning the lens.
That's a nice way to put it. It's the discipline of noticing, not necessarily to change what is, but to allow what is to change you, simply by meeting it with awareness. You realize you weren't trapped by the thing itself, but by the not seeing of it.
And what about the space that's left when a figure dissolves?
Yeah.
That silence after the storm.
Yes, that space, that void, you might call it. The immediate human impulse is often to rush and fill it up, right?
Definitely. Find the next problem, the next goal, the next distraction.
But this perspective suggests that void isn't empty, it's actually pure potential. The things that dissolved, the backpack, the old belief, they're like
Prosthetics.
Yeah, like temporary structures,
Yeah.
scaffolding, training wheels. They served a purpose, helped you function or cope, and now that function is complete. They dissolved because you don't need that external structure to stand anymore.
So philosophically, liberation isn't really freedom from the backpack, because you could technically choose to keep carrying it, I suppose.
Right.
It's more freedom to be shaped by experience without being owned by it. To meet the next thing that arises without desperately needing it to stay or demanding that it go away.
Exactly that. And what's left when the figures rise and fall, dissolve, and integrate? What remains?
The background.
Yeah.
The awareness itself.
Mm-hmm.
The witness.
The ground of being, perhaps. The silent witness. The awareness that notices the figures come and go but doesn't change itself. Which brings us to maybe the final and potentially most challenging movement of liberation. Can you achieve presence without agenda? Meaning, can you dare to just rest in that space between figures, that quiet, maybe slightly terrifying, luminous, wordless space, without immediately rushing to fill it?
Or do you scramble for the next anxiety, the next to-do list, the next comfortable pattern?
That's the challenge, sustained presence in the apparent void.
So the call ultimately isn't to do more, but maybe to allow more. What unnamed potential, what quiet presence is stirring right now in the space you might have cleared, just waiting for your simple, unburdened attention?